Welcome, everybody. This is Jason, and this is the last week of Pose-Tober. We've made it. This is Positive Thinking Part 4, and this one is about articulating couple and group poses. So let's have a look. How do you make poses from multiple sims? Making couple and group poses is a question of posing the first sim, then exporting the pose as an OBJ, and then using the OBJ of the first sim as a template to pose the second sim. Is there anything else to know going in? If you're making poses for multiple templates of the same sim, for example, if I have 2 or 3 HBB templates, then I would need to rename each group a different thing so that they can be separated more easily. If you name all of your groups HBB, it will just merge them together when you import the OBJ. So to build a template, if we're going to create poses for custom body shapes, for example, HBB and Death by Snoo, which is kind of what I'll be doing today, you would first need to build a custom posing template. You can't use the Maxis male posing template on an HBB body because you get a whole bunch of clipping. So in order to do that, we open the mesh that we need to create our template for. I've provided my meshes in the workshop post. Then we select the GMDC in the resource tree, and once again in the resource list. We right click anywhere in the resource list. We go to extract in the dropdown, and we just export that file as a 5GD. And in this case, because I'm building 2, we would do the same thing for the other mesh. And then we're ready to build the template in Milkshape. We open Milkshape. We open the correct template for our gender. So if I'm building an HBB pose, I would want the male template open. Then we select all of the vertices below the next seam, and we just delete them. So we're left with a floating head. Then we go File, Import Sims 2 Unimesh version 4.09. We import the 5GD that we just exported. We're going to get 3 pop-ups. The first one says, if you import over another model, results may be unreliable. Do you want to continue? We click OK. The second one, this is very important. It's going to say, do you want to include additional bone definitions? And this one is very important to select no. And then the third one, it says create blend groups. We don't need blend groups because we don't need the morphs. We just need the main mesh. So we select no. Once we have imported the 5GD, it's going to look something like this. So we've got the body, we've got the head. We go to the groups tab, we select both, and we just regroup them. Then we give our group a unique name. We can save that as a Milkshape file, and we have our pose template done. We'll do exactly the same thing with Death by Snoo. So we just build a female template the same way. To actually articulate the poses, we open our first posing template, our HBB. We make a rough pose. We just rough it in kind of how we want the sim to look in the game. We set the keyframe just as we normally would. And if we're done, if we don't need to go back and readjust due to the other sim's position, we can just export the ANIM. With the pose still open, we go File, Export Wavefront Object, and we export that to wherever our project folder is. Give it a unique name so that you can find it. Then open the pose of the second sim. We need to exit animation mode. Then we go File, Import Wavefront Object, and we import the first sim's template. We articulate the pose of the second sim around the first sim. So in this one, we're just kind of making a rough pose based on the position of the other sim's body. So we can see she's got a nice place to sit here. We just kind of use the first sim as a guide to pose the second sim. Now, this is usually it once we pose the second sim, but we might need to go back and readjust the first sim. So in this case, if that's what you need to do, you would set your keyframe and save this file, then go back to the groups tab, delete the first sim, and export the second sim as an OBJ so that we can fine tune the original pose, the first sim's pose. Okay, so let's put that into practice. What we need to do, we go to our project folder. I've shared these two meshes in the resource post. So we open the first mesh, the HBB underwear mesh. We select the GMDC in the resource tree. Then over here in the resource list, we just select that. We right click and we select extract. And let's call that HBB under. Then we open Death by Snoo underwear, the one that says Snoo. Select the GMDC here, once again in the resource list, and we do the same thing. We just extract and Snoo under. Okay, so we've extracted our meshes. We open Milkshape. First, we open our ANIM base, just like that. Now you can see if we scoot in on the side viewport, there's a neck seam here. That is the head in this template is already assigned to the correct bones, but we're completely changing the body on this. So what we need to do, we just box select all of these vertices below the neck seam that we delete. And we're left with this floating head. Then we go File, Import, Sims 2 AniMesh import version 4.09. First pop-up, we click OK. Second pop-up, always select No here. If you do not select No, it will mess up your template. And let's select HBB underwear. We don't need the blend groups. And there we go. The issue here, if I go to colored groups, the head and the neck are different groups. For simplicity's sake, we go to the groups tab, we select both groups, we regroup, and let's rename that HBB. Just like that. Let's go File, Save As. HBB pose template. Okay. We need to do the same thing for Death by Snoo. So we go New. We go Open. We open the female template this time. We deselect all. We zoom in on the side viewport. And we're just box selecting everything below the neck seam. Then we go File, Import, Sims 2 AniMesh import. We go OK. We go No. Select Snoo underwear. We don't need blend groups. Okay, just like that. We go back to the groups tab. Select the head, we select the body, we regroup, and I'm just going to name that Snoo. So it's all one group. We go File, Save As. Snoo pose template. With this still open, because I'm going to start with my Snoo pose. We go Select None. We enter animation mode. And just so that we have an idea what we're doing, I was hunting for images today and I found this cool suplex. So we're probably going to have to pose the first sim, pose the second sim, and then go back and fine tune the first sim. So we're in animation mode. Let's start out with root raw because she's not exactly 90 degrees. So we kind of scoot it back a little bit. Then we grab our root trans. We go back to the model tab. This time we're going to move. And I'm going to isolate the Z so we just move straight up and down. We need the legs to be a little bit below the horizon so that when I actually bend them, they will be level with the horizon. Then go back to rotate. We go back to joints. Let's grab the left thigh first. And we just kind of rotate that up. Oh, and make sure that we're doing local. Doesn't really matter for the big joints, but for the small joints, it's going to make a difference. Then let's do the right thigh. And I try to make it a little bit asymmetrical because, you know, in real life, poses are rarely perfectly symmetrical. So let's kind of rotate that out a little bit so that we've got more stability. And let's do kind of the same thing with the other thigh. Just kind of need that to be out a little bit more. And let's tweak the root trans once more. Go down just a little bit. And then feet are kind of tough as well as, you know, the way that thumbs are. You don't want to overdo it with feet. Just a little bit of a twist is fine. And then let's mess with the left foot as well. Just so that those are kind of level with the horizon. But, you know, she's got one foot off the ground, so it looks like she's really putting her back into it. Now, if you look at the wrestler here, his back is fairly straight, but he's got a little bit of a curve from about the center of the back to about the shoulders. So here, we don't mess with spine 0. We have spine 1, which is the middle of the back. Yeah, we just rotate a little. And then probably not very much on spine 2 because that starts to look weird. And then if we look at our image again, if anything, the neck is a little bit back like that because it's really avoiding getting crushed. And maybe we turn the head to the side a little bit like that. Now, the arms are a different story because we had to kind of rough these in and then build the HBB pose and pose this one around the HBB pose. So we just kind of, no, that's not right. Just kind of swing it down to the side. Nope. Just kind of rough these in. And then we go animate, set keyframe. And let's call this wrestling thrower. Then from here, with the post still articulated, we go File, Export Wavefront. Just click yes on the pop-up. We're going to call this Wrestler 1. Oh, I didn't want to do that. So we exit animation mode. A file, import, wavefront. And we go to our project folder. We grab Wrestler 1. Okay, now you can see the other figure is kind of in the position she needs to be in. So we will go back to animation mode. Go root rot. We rotate him. And I just want to kind of refer to my real life pose so I can see what's going on. Okay, so he needs to be about there. Move. So we're just going to move him a bit on the root trend so he's kind of in the right position to be suplexed. Maybe we need to rotate a little bit on the root rod. Okay, so he's, yeah, kind of in a good place to be suplexed. We're just going to fine tune that a little bit. Okay, now let's work on his legs. His legs are both kind of 90 degrees and a little bit open. So we start with the left thigh. We rotate. Yeah, we rotate that calf down a little bit. And let's do the same kind of thing with the right thigh. Except make it a little bit less bent. So remember, in real life, things are rarely symmetrical. So I want it to be a little bit off. Perfect. Then, what is his upper body doing? So his head is fairly straight, but if we go to spine 2, I think that needs to be or no, even spine 1. That we should rotate up a little bit. Yeah, and that's pretty much the position he's in. Now, what are his arms doing? His arms are kind of just straight out and loose. So let's start with the right upper arm. Just kind of roll it out. Roll out the forearm, maybe take the upper arm down a little bit. The hand is kind of just flailing. So we kind of, let's scoot that back. Not a whole lot, but just kind of. I don't want to mess with the thumb. But we want to avoid the Kung Fu hands, so we just bend the fingers a little bit. The thumb joint can stay as is. It doesn't super matter, but we need to just get rid of the Kung Fu hands. Just a little bit of flex in the fingers. Then we do the same thing with the left arm. We just kind of rough the big joints in. So we'll take that one up just a bit. Yeah, it looks like he's kind of flailing, falling backwards. That's fine. And then we just rough in the finger joints. Okay. Then I'm pretty happy with that pose as is. So I go animate, set keyframe, file, save as, wrestling in, I'm going to call this one throw E. This one, because we're mostly done with it, I'm going to go ahead and export it. So we go file, export, Sims 2 AniMesh, Anim Exporter version 1.0.1. And I will call this wrestling throw E. We don't mess with anything here. We just export. Back to the groups tab. Here, we want to export this, but we don't want the SNU model. So we just delete SNU. Then we go file, export, wavefront. Call that wrestler 2. We go back to wrestling thrower. Then exit animation mode, file, import, and we just grab the wrestler that we just exported. Then back to animation mode. Okay, so see what we did there? We roughed this one in so that we had a template for the second sim. Now what we need to do is finish articulating her arms based on the second sim. So we just kind of turn this way, maybe out a little bit. We're just kind of trying to get her forearm roughly in the right position for a suplex throw. That's pretty close. We just kind of fine tune the hand. And I like to give it just a little bit of space because it might clip depending on the clothes that they're wearing. Maybe just a little bit more. We can't rotate the arm. We have to. Yeah, we can rotate the arm. Just not that way. Then we need to kind of fine tune the hand. The thumbs, I recommend not messing with thumb 0 because it can do weird things. So we just close. For this hand, I'm just going to close up thumb 1 and thumb 2 a little bit. So we need to just fine tune the fingers. And then yeah, the forearm is not where it needs to be. Forearm goes in. Yeah, that's pretty close. We go out just a little bit that way. Now we just fine tune the hand. Well, no, because sometimes I'm not going to do it here because I think I can still see pretty well what's going on. But in order to see what's happening with the fingers, sometimes you have to turn off the skeleton. I think I can make it work as is. Just gonna fine tune the fingers a little bit. And we're just going to close thumb 1 and thumb 2. We're not going to mess with thumb 0. Just like that. And let's get a big picture. Yeah, that looks pretty spot on. So I'm going to go animate, set keyframe, give that a quick save, and then we need to export. So we export the ANIM. I'm going to call this one wrestling thrower. Give that a quick save. We open the pose box. It's just opening test pose box 2 from last week. I already have a bunch of anims in here. So I'm going to clone twice. Then I replace one of them with wrestling throw E and one of them with wrestling throw R. And I copy. Just going to paste that to my trusty notepad. Then I go tools, object tools, fix integrity. Don't mess with this. Just click OK. Give that a quick save. So we go to, I should have advised what I'm doing. So I go to the string, the str. We select the adult anims and we just add the 2 anims here. Then we commit. Give it a quick save. Then we go to the behave. And we reorder by instance number descending. Then we find test pose, which is the first one that should have been added, and we name this wrestler throwing. And we make, I can't spell. We make sure that it's pointing to the correct anim. Then, just to make double sure, we open the pop-up wizard. We make sure that it's medium priority and it's not flipped. Those are the things that I'm mainly concerned with. We commit. And we go to test pose 9, and this looks like throw E. So I'm just going to change this to the file name. I'm going to change it to being thrown. What is up with my keyboard? And then once again, we just make sure that it's not flipped and it's set to priority medium. Okay, and then we go to stop all poses, and we just make sure that these two poses are included in the queue. So when we stop all, it's going to include wrestling thrower and wrestling throwee. So we're good there. We give it a quick save. We're done with the behaves. Then we go to t-task. Select the t-task in the resource list. Again, or in the tree, then once again in the list. And we make 2-line entries. So I don't want to go over salute test. I want to go over this first placeholder. So I go wrestler throwing. Yeah, we just copy that. We bring that down here. And we change this one to being thrown. We commit. We save. We're done with the t-task. Last stop, t-tab. We select the t-tab. Once again in the resource list. And then after we select salute test, which should be the last behave before the face overlays, we add. We change the pi string ID to B. We change the action behave to 1000B. We click add again. Change the string to C. We change the action behave to 1000C. We commit. And let's move this up. So it's just above face overlays. The reason I do this is because these will appear. The T-tab, this is the order that things appear on in the pi menu string. So if there are, for example, if there are sub-levels, like the first thing that it's going to see is model pose. Then it's going to see overlay, and then it's going to see wrestler. Or no, it's going to see, let's see, model pose, then sick wheelie, then driving tractor, then overlay, salute test, and wrestler. And then the face overlays are their own sub menu. So I just want these to appear before face overlay. That's why I'm reordering them. So I commit. I give that a quick save, and we're ready to test. Okay, so now we have our two sims, and I had them stacked on a special OMSP that holds multiple sims. Otherwise, you could just stack them on two regular OMSPs. And what we do here, we go wrestler, he is being thrown. And then we go wrestler throwing. Yeah, I don't love that he's thinking of her while she's doing this, but let's turn that invisible so you can see what's going on here. Okay, yeah, so not perfect, but it's a pretty decent suplex pose, and with a little fine tuning, you could probably add it to a pose box. That's pretty much it. That's how you would go about creating poses for 2 or more Sims.